Ever wondered how our ancestors kept cool in the scorching heat without the luxury of modern cooling systems? It's a fascinating journey back in time, when resourcefulness and ingenuity were the keys to comfort. In the absence of electricity and air conditioning, one of the most common strategies was to simply move to cooler areas during the summer. Families would pack up and head towards the refreshing shores of seas or rivers. They'd engage in activities like fishing, providing both a respite from the heat and a means to sustain themselves. This tradition eventually evolved into the concept of summer resorts, much like our holiday destinations today. Let's delve into some historical instances. The ancient Egyptians, for instance, had a unique approach. Despite their political centers being located in the hot south, the royal family would migrate north to cooler palaces during the summer. This wasn't just a change of scenery, but a practical solution to the intense heat. And it wasn't just the Egyptians. Over in China, emperors of the Qing dynasty also had their summer escape plan. They retreated to specially constructed mountain resorts, away from the stifling heat of the plains. These high-altitude hideaways served as a cool refuge, allowing the emperors to rule comfortably even in the peak of summer. But what about the commoners who could not afford to migrate? They had to find different ways to cope with the heat. Some of these methods may surprise you, and that's what we'll explore in the next scene. So stay tuned as we continue our journey through the history of cooling methods. How did they adapt their clothing? What other ingenious strategies did they employ? All this and more coming up next. For the common people, the battle against heat was a daily struggle. They had to be creative, resourceful, and adaptive to survive the sweltering summers. Clothing, for instance, played a significant role in their heat survival strategy. In many ancient societies, people chose light, breathable fabrics like linen to help keep their bodies cool. In Egypt, for instance, people wore loose, flowing garments that allowed for air circulation. Even soldiers and workers, often exposed to the harsh sun, opted for minimal clothing to facilitate cooling. Hand fans, too, were an essential tool in the fight against heat. While these were initially seen as a luxury item, over time, they became accessible to people across different social classes. These fans were made from a variety of materials, including silk, feathers, and palm leaves. Their use was not just practical, but also a part of cultural rituals and dances. Of course, people didn't just rely on clothing and fans to keep cool. They also adapted their homes to deal with the heat. One common method was to hang wet cloth on windows. As the water from the cloth evaporated, it would help cool the air coming into the house. Another strategy was to use water-filled pottery containers. These containers would slowly release moisture into the air, acting as a natural humidifier and helping to cool the environment. This was particularly effective in dry climates where the evaporation would lead to a significant reduction in temperature. At night, when the outside air was cooler, people would open their windows to let in the fresh air. This natural ventilation not only cooled the home, but also helped to circulate air, reducing the stuffiness that can come with high temperatures. And then, there was the ingenious use of ice. People in regions experiencing winter snow would store ice in specially designed ice houses. This ice would then be used during the summer months to help cool homes and food. This practice was not just a local phenomenon. By the 1830s, it had grown into a global trade known as the ice trade. But that's a story for another time. For now, let's marvel at the resourcefulness of our ancestors in their battle against heat. Ice, a natural coolant, was not only a relief from the heat, but also a commodity of trade. In regions blessed with winter snow, storing ice became a common practice. This snow was preserved in ice houses, essentially deep pits insulated with straw. As the summer heat loomed, this stored ice was used for cooling. But the use of ice wasn't just localized. In fact, in the 1830s, it transformed into a worldwide trade, aptly named the ice trade. Imagine huge chunks of ice harvested from the frozen lakes of North America and Europe being transported across vast distances. These ice blocks ended up in the sweltering climes of the Caribbean, India, and even Australia. The ice trade was not just about providing relief from the heat. It also revolutionized food preservation and opened up new avenues for trade. While the ice trade was making global waves, Back home, architectural innovations were changing how people dealt with heat. The Islamic world, for instance, came up with a fascinating solution known as wind traps. These were tall towers, constructed to capture the cooler breeze, channel it through the house, and expel the hotter air. The result? Houses that were a good 20 degrees cooler than the outside. Then there was the mashrabiyah, an ingenious architectural feature that served multiple purposes. This external cube, with its narrow openings, was positioned to let in the cool air, but it didn't stop there. The natural fibers of the wood used in mashrabiyah absorbed the water vapor at night, providing a cooling effect during the day. It also blocked the harsh sun without compromising on light, and even offered privacy. As architectural practices evolved, homes began to orient windows toward prevailing winds, thicken outer walls for insulation, and increase ceiling heights to allow the hot air to escape. These were the precursors to the modern air conditioning systems we enjoy today. But as architecture advanced, so did the methods of cooling. The push-button luxury of our modern-day air conditioning systems is a testament to the ingenuity of our ancestors who fought the heat with what they had at hand. As we moved into the modern era, cooling methods evolved significantly. A subtle shift in architectural design began to emerge. Orienting windows towards prevailing winds became a common practice. This allowed a natural flow of air to course through homes, reducing the inside temperature considerably. Insulation, too, became a key feature in modern homes. The thickening of the outer walls acted as a barrier, preventing the scorching heat from penetrating into the living spaces. This relatively simple concept had a profound impact on indoor temperatures, keeping homes cooler during the day and warmer during the night. Ceiling heights also saw an increase. The logic behind this was straightforward yet ingenious. Hot air, being lighter than cold air, rises. Higher ceilings allowed this hot air to ascend, leaving the cooler air at the level where people lived and breathed. This natural circulation of air helped maintain a comfortable indoor climate. But the real game changer arrived in 1882 with the invention of the electric fan. This relatively simple device revolutionized the way we cooled our homes. The fan, with its rotating blades, could stir up a breeze within any room, making the heat more bearable. This invention was a precursor to the modern cooling systems we know and love today. Yet, the most significant leap forward came in the 1950s with the widespread use of air conditioners. These devices not only cooled the air but also removed humidity, making the environment much more comfortable. The air conditioner transformed the way we live, work, and play. It made summers in the hottest regions bearable and allowed for the growth of cities in places that were previously considered too hot to inhabit. And just like that, the struggle against the summer heat was no longer a seasonal migration or a battle fought with hand fans and high ceilings. It was now a simple matter of adjusting a thermostat. A luxury once reserved for the royals had become commonplace. And that's how we arrived at the push-button luxury we experience today. So, the next time you reach for that AC remote, remember the journey it took to get here. Our ancestors battled heat with resilience and creativity. They adapted with changing seasons, attire, and even pre-electricity fans. They drew from nature, using wet cloth, pottery filled with water, stored ice, and innovative architecture for relief. Their struggle for every degree of coolness laid the foundation for our modern comforts of fans and air conditioners. This journey is a testament to human adaptability and the relentless pursuit of comfort. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Stay tuned for more fascinating historical insights.